Oh, ass glad, you conniving son of a gun, you. Oh! Hello. It's not Sunday, is it? Wait, no, it's not Sunday, it's a Monday! That's the exact opposite of a Sunday! What am I doing here right now? Oh, wait. I know what this is. I know exactly what this is. This is a surprise One Piece chapter review! Merry Christmas! Happy New Year, everybody! This will be One Piece chapter 1036 review titled Bushido is the Way of Death. So really quick, yeah, the official Viz version of this is not going to be out until next Monday, and that's the thing with around the end of the year. It's usually like the chapter will be coming out unofficially like a week or so before the official release. And I was looking at the calendar, and I think the Viz version is going to come out next Monday on January 3rd, where I'm actually going to be out of town. So I'm like, all right, 2 weeks with no One Piece chapter, and then when it does come out officially, I'm going to have to wait another day in order to talk about it. So you know what? I said, screw it! Merry Christmas to all! Let's just tackle this now. If there's any significant difference between this version and the Viz version, I might make a video about that as well, but I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference. And then next year, we'll get back to the regular schedule, because it actually works out for me on Sundays to do the reviews. That's like the best day for me. But for right now, let's just tackle it to end out 2021. What a year! What a year this has been, right? So many memories. I can't wait for it to be over. All right, so we start off with a color page spread. I was actually a little disappointed because I wanted to continue the Germa 66 cover story, but it's fine. We see the Straw Hats all hanging out in a winter wonderland. It actually looks like an entire town that has been frozen in a lake. And so the Straw Hats are like walking on top of ice as like there's buildings frozen beneath them, and they're all hanging out there and just having a good time. Jinbei's wearing a big jacket that has 10 on it because he's like the 10th member. Usopp has one that says 4. It's just a nice little color spread to end out the year. Okay, that's what we got there. All right, so we continue where we cut off last chapter with Zoro cutting off King's wing and his sword and his arm. Actually, no, he does not cut off his arm. All right, so that was one of those things last chapter, if you like zoomed in close enough, because when Zoro sliced through the magma fire dragon that King had created, if you looked at it at a certain angle, it sort of seemed like Zoro sliced off King's wing, his sword, and his arm. But I guess the arm must have just been like, because also the Conqueror's Hockey Lightning was going crazy as well. And so I was a little bit concerned, like, is it his arm that got cut off, or was it just his wing and his sword? So no, it wasn't his arm, but still, suffice to say, King got jacked up, alright? So he's down one of his wings and he's down his sword, which either of those might not be that big of a deal because he is also losing a massive amount of blood. Like, beyond just his wing and sword being damaged, King was not much of a swordsman to begin with. He said as much to Zoro. So I think losing his sword probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal for him. He probably would have just thrown it on the ground and continued fighting normally. But he's also losing quite a bit of blood from being sliced right down in the center of his chest, alright? So that's more of a pressing matter there. Zoro, you know, he does the really cool stance after using Dragon Damnation. He passes over him. Keep in mind, they are both above the Flower Capital right now, so that attack took place, you know, off the edge of Onigashima, so they're still floating in the air right now. They're falling, I guess, with style, so they're gonna have to get back to the, you know, the bank of Onigashima if they don't want to fall to their deaths, probably. So, as this is happening, we get two flashbacks, okay? One is a flashback from King's perspective, and another is a flashback from Zoro's perspective. And, you know, that's not like they're psychic. They can't sense each other's mental states. So it's very interesting they're both thinking about these same things at the same moment, okay? And they both have to deal with them being the first, you know, first mate or the second in command of their respective pirate crews. So the Beast Pirates with King under Kaido, and the Straw Hat Pirates with Zoro under Luffy, alright? So the first scene we have is King, as he's getting cut down, as he's bleeding out from Zoro's attack, he's like, Kaido-sama! And then we flash back to, it's a little bit after when they first met, okay? So they first met at Punk Hazard, I like to think about 30 years ago. This seems to be maybe like a year or so later where King is a little bit older, but still not quite into Wano yet. Like Kaido has yet to take over Wano, so I think this flashback might be like maybe 27, 28 years ago. King is already wearing his like BDSM gimp suit at this point, although his face is uncovered, so he's having this conversation. He looks a little bit older here, so like maybe in his early 20s. Kaido looks pretty much the same as he did in the flashback when he first met King. He still doesn't have his epic mustache or anything like that. So they're just hanging out. It looks like in a fancy mansion. I don't know if it's in a ship or if it's like they killed a noble of an island and they're just hanging out there or whatever. But they're having a little conversation, and Kaido says to King, is like, Woro, so do you really think I can do it, King? Do you really think I am Joy Boy? And King's response to that is just like, you know what? Legends are legends. I guess that really doesn't matter. All that matters is that you continue to be the strongest, you continue to be strong, and I will follow you no matter what. And I will make sure you become the king of the pirates, alright? So, this is very fascinating. Kaido also brings up, like, do you think I could make this world? Like, the world I'm going to make is the world that you wanted, okay? And King is like, you know, you're the one that saved me from being experimented on. You know, I'm the last of my race, so I will follow you wherever you go, Kaido-sama, basically, alright? So the prevailing theory here that I've been reading up on, a lot of people have been thinking here with Kaido, and might also explain why Kaido is such a drunk right now in the current storyline and why he's so interested in, like, Luffy and everybody, is that Kaido, back in his younger years, right after the events of God Valley, basically thought himself as Joy Boy. Now, Joy Boy was definitely a person that lived during the Void Century, but from the way that Kaido talks about him in this arc, it seems like the title of Joy Boy is something that actually carries on to generation after generation, alright? And then the way that Odin talked about it, I don't know. Sometimes it seemed like it was just a title or a reincarnate kind of situation, rather than, like, you know, Joy Boy himself, like, arriving from the past. But once again, the Toki no Mi exists, so you can pick any one of those. But at least the prevailing idea right now, the one that I go with the most believability, is that Joy Boy is a title. And it's like whoever is going to have that title is going to usher the world into the next era, okay? And so Kaido, after the events of God Valley, thought that that was him, or he was going to become the next Joy Boy, right? Maybe not necessarily, it's kind of up for debate whether or not it's a title that you're just bestowed at birth. You know, like, you are the prophecy child that shall become the next Joy Boy. It doesn't seem to be a situation like that. It seems to be something you have to earn, okay? Something you have to earn, and Kaido felt like he deserved to, you know, receive that title, okay? So this is in his younger years. This is when he's going out, just beginning the Beast Pirates. King might be very well his only subordinate right now. We didn't see Queen or Jack or anybody else of the All-Stars in this flashback or anything. So he's basically having this conversation with King. And it also seems to imply that, like, King is aware of Joy Boy's existence as well. Keep in mind, not everybody in the One Piece world knows who Joy Boy is. That is something that is probably kept under lock and key. And you probably don't want to be walking around the One Piece world talking about, you know, it's like, hey, did you know there was this guy named Joy Boy that lived like 800 years ago? I feel like that would alert the Cypher Pole if you were going around talking about Joy Boy and stuff, right? Okay? But it makes sense that Kaido would know about him because he was on Rox's crew, which is some of the strongest pirates that ever existed, and Rox wanted to conquer the world, so it would make sense that he knew about the legend. And also, likewise, it would make sense why King would know about the legend, being a Lunarian. You know, it's possible the Lunarians might have had, like, a connection or maybe, like, an alliance with Joy Boy back during the War of the Void Century, right? And that passed down through their generations and their stories, okay? Like, Joy Boy is maybe somebody that will return someday. And so, King doesn't seem to be that interested in the legend itself, or, like, in the prophecy, if that's what you want to call it. He's just interested in Kaido's strength. He's like, you know, Kaido, you are insanely powerful. You and you alone can change this world and pretty much make it into whatever you want it to be. Regardless of whether or not you want to be called Joy Boy or whoever, I will follow you because I believe in this world that you are making, right? So that's the flashback we have there with King. And of course, King ends with saying, I will make you king of the pirates. And then we have the flashback with Zoro happening at the same time, as Zoro, after he slices down King, is falling down, and he remembers the scene after at the Baratier after he was defeated by Mihawk, where Zoro is crying and bleeding more and crying more, and he's holding up his sword and he's just like, I will never lose again! Is that okay, King of the Pirates? And Luffy's like, yeah, man, that's cool. That's alright. Yeah, it's fine. makes sense to me. You know? So there's that moment there where Zoro decides, you know, I will follow Luffy. I will make him king of the pirates. I will become king of the swordsmen, and he will become king of the pirates. Except, oh no, Zoro is going to take it one step further here. And he's like, well, if that's what it takes, then I guess I'll just become King of Hell! And he has all three of his swords clad in armament hockey, conqueror's hockey. Steam and black lightning is firing off of it as he continues to fall through the sky. And then he uses one more burst of conquerors as he swings his sword, and the shockwave knocks him back onto the landmass of Onigashima. That is an awesome scene. So a perfect parallel there, and it also might give some believability to the whole idea of Joy Boy. It would be very interesting if all throughout the 800 years from when the Void Century ended to the present storyline, there have been other characters that, you know, had the will of D and set out to sea, very much like Luffy did. And they also had a first mate that, you know, joined them in a very similar way that King joined Kaido or Zoro joined Luffy, and they made that vow, the vow of like, I will make sure you become the king, right? And not all of them succeeded. Clearly, King did not succeed. He was cut down, unfortunately. But like Rayleigh might have had a very similar moment with Roger. We have seen when Roger and Rayleigh first met, when Rayleigh was on that boat, and Roger's like, hey there, Rayleigh, I'm Roger. Let's go out to sea and start up chaos and become kings of the pirates. You know, we saw that first meeting, but it would have been interesting if maybe there was a moment later where Rayleigh decided to take his sword and like kind of like bent the knee to Roger and was like, you know, I will make you king of the pirates someday. Or maybe not necessarily say the phrase king of the pirates, but like, I will make sure you carry out all of your goals. I will be your right-hand man. Something along those lines. So it's an interesting, really cool parallel there between Zoro and King as this fight concludes. And yes, the narrator does come on and say, you know, the battle in the skies outside the right brain tower, Victor Zoro. Also, one more thing, and this is more of just like a side thing I've noticed. It's really not that important, but in this one scene, as Zoro begins his flashback, we see a close-up of his face, and he has the Wano Ichimonji in his mouth. And the Wano Ichimonji always had like a circular guard, right? But here in this close-up, and I don't know if you can see it too well, I drew them on the guard, it sort of has these marks on either side. And it's just one of those things that like Mandela effect, I guess, where it's like, were those always there? Like those little half-circle marks on both sides of the guard? Because I always thought of the Wano as just, you know, a straight circular, like, you know, kind of like an oval guard. Nothing special about it, nothing unique in the guard itself. But we see a close-up of it here, and it clearly does have some interesting, like, marks on the guard. So, I don't know if somebody wants to go back and check if those were always there, or I'm just, like, losing my mind. I don't know, but just a little thing I felt like I should bring up. Alright. So their fight has concluded. Epic scene of Zoro saying he'll become the king of the hell. How does King of the Hill is like, well, there, King, I'm just defeated you, and the reason I defeated you is because I use the best clean burning fuel that money can buy. My swords are run on pure Texas propane. That's the secret to my conqueror's hockey. That was the secret to conqueror's hockey the whole time. You just need to run your swords on propane and you're good. But he's gonna be King of Hell, which, does that rank higher or lower than the greatest swordsman in the world? I don't know. I feel like the title King of Hell is a little bit higher than best swordsman in the world. Like Mihawk, wherever he's at in the world right now, slicing up a bunch of marine battleships outside of his island. He's like, man, I wish I was the King of Hell. That would have been a really cool ability. Now I'm just picturing all the One Piece characters crossed with King of the Hill characters, which is great. It's awesome. Somebody should animate that. Anyway, so now we cut to a bunch of different scenes. So Zoro uses Conquerors to get back to Onigashima. At the same time that happens, one of the Marys that has some kind of a smile that allows her to fly is witnessing Zoro land on the island. So she is relaying back to the indestructible reception room to one of the CP0 members that King has fallen, that he has been defeated, and Zoro is the victor of that fight. So there were 3 members of Cypher Pole Zero in that indestructible waiting room, okay, of the gods. And so 2 two of them went to go down into the basement levels, and they're currently fighting against Drake and Apu, and the numbers as well, right? And so one of them, though, the kind of tall, lanky, clown-looking dude, he was the dude that Orochi shot in the face, when Orochi just pulled out the gun and shot him right in the face, and he was just like it didn't seem to faze him at all. That guy is still in the reception room with the go board, I guess. I don't know. He's just like, all right, it seems we got the orders from HQ. We have to go capture Nico Robin under any circumstances. And he's like, all right, you two head out to capture Nico Robin. I will stay here and keep track of the battle on the go board. That's good. That's good, Bill. We always need somebody to keep track of this go board, right? Absolutely. So anyway, the Mary relays the information to this, Cypher Pole agent, and he's like, what? And he's actually surprised. He's like, oh, crap, this isn't good. Wait. So you mean to tell me all of the Toby Ropo, as well as all of the All-Stars, are defeated at this point? And the Mary is like, that is correct. And he's like, wow, that's okay, that's interesting. Now, he's shocked for a moment, but then he remembers, oh, wait a minute, we still have Kaido and Big Mom rampaging around Onigashima. So he's like, this might not even matter, you know? It's like, okay, so they defeated the Toby Ropo, they defeated the All-Stars, they did way better than we ever thought that they would be capable of doing, but Big Mom is still here, and she's rampaging, and she's really pissed, and Kaido is a dragon duck, so it might not matter if they are defeated at the end of the day, right? And sure enough, we cut over to see a quick scene of Big Mom rampaging around the hall. Her hair is on fire, meaning that she kind of fused with Prometheus again. The same thing that happened at Totland when Prometheus kind of fused with her hair that, like, lit the sails of the Sunny on fire. So she's in that form. She's, like, kaiju-sized at this point. She's bigger, Mom! Mama! She's like some kind of grandma or something. She actually is a grandma because of Pez. So, yeah, she is a grandma. Anyway, we see Law and Kid still struggling. She's animated a bunch of the the girders and steel support beams that Kid threw at her, and so they're animated as homies and now coming after them. Kid is using his metal arms to kind of push them back. Law is kind of Law just kind of looks like he's doing gymnastics here. He's just kind of like, he's like jumping around the battlefield. But we only have that one scene with that. Then we cut back over outside of Onigashima. We see a little bit of hypothetical moment of what would actually happen if the island of Onigashima were to just boom, crash into the flower capital. And we see it, and this is interesting because it actually finally gives us a comparison of size between Onigashima and the flower capital itself. And it honestly looks like Onigashima, in terms of the landmass, is about the same size as the flower capital, which, once again, I have to bring up, regardless of whether or not there are explosives on Onigashima, this would be like, okay, take Manhattan Island in New York City, okay? This would be like, I watched Cloverfield again the other day. It's been years since I've seen it. It was good. It's a good, found footage. It's kind of dated because it was, in 2008, but whatever. I watched Cloverfield the other night. Anyway, so imagine you got, Manhattan Island, and then you have another Manhattan Island floating over Manhattan Island that then crashes into it. Regardless of whether or not there are explosives, both of those land masses are probably going to be completely destroyed by that impact, okay? So, I mean, once again, the explosives are an issue, but I think the fact of the island falling on the flower capital is, far and above the major issue here. Quite literally, far and above, okay? Well, anyway, we have Momo there, and he's still struggling to pull it away, and the narrator is assuring us that, oh, don't worry, the people in the flower capital, they still do not know that there's anything happening right now. So they're still enjoying their fire festival. Hey, they deserve it, all right? The citizens of Wano, if anybody deserves just to have a nice time while all this nonsense is going on in Onigashima, it's them. They had it rough 364 days out of the year, all right? Let them have one night where they can just, I don't know, get drunk and eat some cotton candy, for God's sake, right? So Momo's trying his best to pull it away, but we see a situation that might go really bad if it falls. Then also the narrator brings up, oh, by the way, there's also the flaming ghost, Kanjuro's Kanzenbo, that's been spurred on by Orochi's words, that is also moving toward the armory. And we see him getting pretty damn close to that. The Kanzenbo is just phasing through the rock bed of Onigashima, and it seems to be directly above the armory now, given the little map that we see. So now, cutting over, we see Yamato and Fuga, running through the hallways, approaching the armory itself, okay? And this is where we finally get the last of the numbers to be revealed. Number 6, Roki. That's right. Oda did not forget about them. That's nice. Although I will say that the silhouettes that we had while the numbers were arriving at Onigashima, the last one that we had yet to see, I think, was the one that had, like, the gas mask on. And this is clearly not that one, because Roki is very short and stout. You know, I'm a little teapot, short and stout. I'm number 6, my name is Roki. Yeah, so he's just like a short, stout guy. He kind of seems like the burly kind of dude that you would have as like an NPC at a bar in a D&D campaign or something. Like, hey there, welcome to the number 6 bar. What can I get for you? Be like, I don't know, I would like a brandy. Brandy? We got grog, and that's what you're gonna drink. You know, that's that kind of character, all right? But he's asleep, okay? So he's hanging out in front of the armory doors, just having a little nap, and he's just like, Roki. Roki. And he's just having a little nap, and Yamato is approaching him, and she's like, oh, that's where Roki was. Okay, well, I don't have time to fight him right now, so Fuga, can you please take care of him so I can get into the armory? And so, I gotta feel bad for Roki here, you know? Like, the numbers have all been defeated pretty relatively quickly in this arc, but I think Roki had it the worst. Roki's like, you know what? You can have, you know, Chiaki and Goki and everybody. You could go up to the festival stage and get defeated by the Straw Hats, you know, Zanki and Fuga and, what was this, the number 1, Ibi. Ibi can all hang out and have drinks. I'm gonna go guard the armory. Nobody's gonna come down here. And then all of a sudden, Fuga, another member of the numbers, just rams into Roki full power, you know, and remember, Fuga is like a centaur. He's giant-sized, but he also has like a horse or like a boar lower half, like a centaur. And so he has those big horns on his head, too. So he literally, just like a bull, just charges right into Roki, and he's like, Roki, huh? Boom! And just knocks him straight through the door, completely obliterating the wooden door to the armory, and Yamato just kind of skips over them and just like, thanks, Fuga! Make sure to keep Roki busy! And Fuga's like, Fuga! Alright, let's go! And Roki gets up like, what just happened? Roki? Fuga! Roki! Fuga! Roki. And then they begin their fight, I guess. Alright, so this is the long-awaited fight that we've all been waiting for, right? Fuga versus Roki. Death match. No holds barred. Not a single bar will be held in this fight, alright? We don't see the fight, but it was kind of a cute scene where Yamato's like, thanks, Fuga! It's like, Fuga, we're good, we're cool. And so Yamato then jumps down into the armory itself. I'm assuming she's probably going to use her Makami Devil Fruit ability, which has ice properties, in order to freeze all of the gunpowder, like, into solid chunks of, like, crystals, like ice. And so at least that will disarm Onigashima, so to speak, right? So now we cut over to the namesake of the chapter. We cut over to the attic in between the first and second floors. This is where Kinemon, by all accounts, really should have been killed by Kaido, but also Kiku is there. Kanjuro is there as well, but I don't think we really reference him at all. Anyway, so this massive battle has now taken effect here, okay? So the fire is now raging through the attic, the Beast Pirates are there, and Usopp is there, standing his ground alone, using his Skull Bomb grass, and he's launching attacks at the Beast Pirates, trying to kill Kinemon and Okiku, right? And so, the entire time Usopp is there trying to rescue him, Kinemon's in the background like, Usopp, Dono, just leave me. Save Kiku. And then Kiku is like, no, Usopp, take Kinemon, leave me, for I am dead. And Usopp's like, okay, you know what? Screw this. I guess I'll just leave you both to die. Just like, it makes it a lot easier on me, I guess. But no, Usopp says it like, you know what? I am sick and tired of you samurai and your, like, seppuku obsession or whatever, right? Like, he straight up is like, look, I know this is all about your samurai culture and anything. I'm just saying, it sucks. And so he's just like, no, you know what? You're both gonna live, and you're both gonna like it. Let's go. I'm here to save you, right? So Usopp has this really emotional scene where he begins to bawl his eyes out, and he's just like, you know what? There have been many moments in my life where I've had to plead for my life and cry like a baby, but you know what? I will cling on to life because that is how important life is. I understand you're doing this out of honor and out of like the way that you were raised and the whole thing with Odin and everybody like that, but screw it, you know? If you can cling to life, even if it means you gotta bawl like a baby and crawl away into a state of fear and like a fetal position, you do that, damn it! And you know what's interesting? And there's a little bit of different scenes here, but like Usopp has definitely done things like, you know, as opposed to what he's saying right now. Like when he was fighting Chu way back at Arlong Park, you know, he could have pretended to be dead there, right? He could have just laid on the ground and pretended to be dead, and Chu was walking away, and that would have been the coward's way out. But he decided in that fight to stand up and fight against Chu, even if it meant that he would die, okay? But he had to do it for his friends. So it's not the same thing that Usopp is talking about here, where it's like, if you have an enemy to face, you have to face them, even if it means, like, you know, you're giving up your life, because that's, you know, for your friends. You know, they're counting on you to do that. But it's a completely different situation here, where Kinemon and Okiku are lying on the ground already defeated. It's not like they're running away from an enemy or anything like that. They're literally on death's door. And so Usopp is like, I'm here to save you. And he's like, no, just leave us. It's like, no, bullshit. I'm not gonna leave you here. You're gonna die. It's like, you don't have to. It's just like, whatever. And so Usopp has this little line of dialogue, and it kind of sort of inspires Okiku and Kinemon. But what really happens here is Izo. Freaking Izo just appears from the second floor, I guess. He just dives down through the roof of the attic and lands. And he's like, nicely said, God Usopp. Now, duck. Usopp's like, duck? Where's Kaido? He's like, no, not duck like a duck dragon. Just get down. I think it's time for the fastest guns in Wano to make some declarations. Just like a freaking 90s, like a Bruce Willis movie. I also watched Pulp Fiction last night. Anyway, he just takes out both of his guns and just like a spiral move, just like shoots everybody down. Usopp ducks. Kinemon and Okiku are obviously already on the ground, so he just guns down all these beast pirates, including Kisuke Urahara. I'm not even kidding. There's one of the beast pirates here that is just wearing Kisuke Urahara's hat from Bleach. And I feel like that has to be intentional because of the whole story of, like, you know, the Bleach is coming back. We just had the trailer. There was some other mangakas that were drawing some artwork of Bleach because of this, and also the anniversary is here as well. So it's just like, yeah, you know what? This is totally a reference to Bleach. And so that's confirmed, everybody. Izo is stronger than Kisuke Urahara. I never thought those two characters were gonna fight, but yeah, I mean, Usopp is strong. I mean, not Usopp. Urahara is strong. He's got Bin and Hime and everybody, but has anybody tried to use a gun against Urahara? The answer's no, so that's what I have to say about that. So we have this really cool scene with Izo just gunning everybody down, and then he just lands there. And he's just like looking badass. He goes over to Okiku, and Kiku's like, brother, I'm so sorry. And he's like, oh, don't worry, Okiku. You're too injured. Don't worry about talking right now. There will be plenty of time to talk later after we've, you know, gotten out of all of this, right? And so he gets up and he takes off his kimono, and just like all the members of the Scabbards, he also has the mark of the Kozukis on him. Now remember, Izo left Wano, you know, well before the other Scabbards did, with Whitebeard, of course, but he still has that brand on his back, and his neck game is not quite as good as Denjiro, but Izo has quite a respectful neck. It's a pretty meaty neck. Anyway, we have the Kozuki crest on his back, and he's just kind of like, if you believe in Straw Hat Luffy, if you think he can really win this fight, then, you know, you have to live to see it. And so then he's like, now, God Usopp, take Kiku and Kinemon and get away from here. I'll handle this. And so Usopp has a little starstruck moment where he's like, oh, you know my name? One of the commanders of Whitebeard's crew knows who I am. God Usopp. Wow, that just made Usopp's day. It's just like, that's gonna give him enough of the adrenaline to get him out of this war. You know, just like, wow, one of Whitebeard's commanders, one of the Yonko. Wow, that's crazy. He knows who I am. Wow, that's awesome. You know? And so he picks up Kinemon. Hamlet is there, the giraffe smile, and who's working for Otama, and he picks up Kiku, and then they get out of Dodge, okay? So they escape as Izo is left there, just firing, just like, bring it on! This is Whitebeard justice. Just unloading into the crowd, alright? So that's pretty cool. Now we cut over to see the most epic fight of all of Onigashima. We have Raizo versus Fuku Rokuju, ninja battle for the ages, and they are at a standstill right now. Like literally, they're at a standstill. I really have no other way to phrase it. So, using their ninjutsu, they have both utilized a paralysis technique and a mobilization technique on both of them at the same time. Where Fuku Rokuju is like, whoa, paralysis jutsu! Oh, but your paralysis jutsu is no match for my paralysis jutsu! It's like the scene with Zabuza and Kakashi with like the 35,000 hand signs they did. Water Dragon Jutsu! You know, it's like that same thing. So they're basically there in a position and they can't move, and they're like, you know, Fuku Rokuju is like, Raizo, this is foolish. End your paralysis technique. You are doomed from the start. And Raizo's like, I cannot, Fuku Rokuju. It is you that shall fall. Right now, the fire is raging around them, and it unfortunately is reaching Raizo first. Those ropes that he has on his back are beginning to catch fire, and so Fuku Rokuju is still avoiding the flames. He's like, oh, you were closer to the flames, so you're gonna die first. You're just going to be burned alive. And Raizo's rebuttal to that in a very badass fashion is just, you fool, I am one of Odin's scabbards. A little heat like this is nothing more than a mild bath. You know, I could take heat like this for days. And so Fuku Rokuju is like, And so we just have that scene there. Now we cut down to Hiyori, Komurasaki, and Orochi. We still don't really know any more about this scene or what it makes sense or what if it doesn't make sense. It's just Orochi is hanging out next to Hiyori as she's playing the shamisen, and Orochi's kind of like in a daze right now. He's just like, I am Lord Orochi! I can't believe Hiyori is here. Wait, I don't know her name is Hiyori. Her name is Komurasaki, that's right. I'm just hanging out here with her. That's so cool, she's not dead. Oh, right. Wasn't I supposed to be doing something? Oh, yeah. This entire building is on fire and is about to crash down in a fiery cataclysmic oblivion. I sure hope Fuku Rokuju shows up soon and saves me. Oh, well. Komurasaki, can you play that song I like? Yes, my lord. Yay, I get that song that I like. So that's basically what their situation is right now. I'm still wondering if Hiyori's going to pull the old hidden sword inside of the shamisen move and just, it's like, I shall play that song. Come closer, lord. I want you to hear it better. Okay, Komurasaki. Ah! And then she just like stabs him, right? Okay. So now we cut over back down to the basement. A lot of cutting around in this chapter. I actually kind of like that though for like the last chapter of the year. I kind of like it like that. And we cut around to see everything going on. So now we see the fight between Apu and Drake working together against the two CP0 members. And suffice to say, it doesn't look good. Drake has been defeated. He's on the ground bleeding out, as well as number 3, Zanki, has also been defeated. Apu and Ibi managed to escape though. So Ibi's just like hauling ass down the hallway like, Ibi, those guys are strong! And Apu is just like, yeah, I know, right? Sorry, Drake, nice knowing ya! You know, and so they're just peeling out, and we just see Drake defeated there as the two members of CP0 land and they receive a phone call. And I think, is they receiving the phone call just from the other member? I think it might just be the other member that's in the reception room that's relaying the information that he learned from the Mary. So he's relaying the information of just like, okay, hey, yeah, have you guys captured Nico Robin yet? Nah, we got a little held up. We had to fight an Allosaur and a giant, like, drunk thing. Anyway, what's going on with you? He's like, yeah, well, you might want to get on that and then get out of the castle because, well, number one, it's on fire, but also, turns out the All-Stars and the Toby Roppo have all been defeated now. And it's like, oh shit, really? It's like, yeah, now look, like, there still might be a way for the Beast Pirates to win this. I mean, Kaido and Big Mom are still in play. So as long as those two Yonko are active and fighting, you know, like, it could really go either way at this point. But I'll just say this, and this is what the CP0 member says. He's like, listen, if this does go south, though, the next couple of minutes of this battle could seriously decide, like, the fate of the world, like, what the next generation's going to be. Like, if the Straw Hats do pull a 1 in a million chance and actually manage to defeat Kaido and Big Mom here, that is going to flip the world on its side, so we should really get on this. He's like, all right, cool. So are you going to come down and help us fight? It's like, no, I have to stay here in the reception room and work on the go board. He's like, absolutely, that is imperative. Okay, cool. And so that's it. But we have scenes of all over Onigashima as this message is playing. We have scenes with Sanji being taken care of by that one geisha. I always forget her name. I remember Chuji is the name of the mouse, but I always forget Osome. I think her name is Osome. And so I guess she's, having, Sanji get first aid and, putting like a towel on his head because he's knocked out. We see Killer there moving to a location. His mask is all cracked. Beppo is still fighting. He's doing something. Zoro looks like he just passed out. Zoro looks like as soon as he got back to the land of Onigashima, he just immediately passed out. Probably from overusing his Enma and his Haki, and it also could just be the medicine from the minks he got is finally wearing off, so he just looks like he's collapsed. We see Law and Kid struggling one more time against Big Mom, who's just lording over them with her fire hair. And, as the member of Cypher Pool mentions, like, this could be it. Like, we're here. This is the final decisive stage of the battle. Unless, the Cypher Pool members might catch up with Apu and Ebi, so they'll have to fight them. But other than that, every other fight is pretty much like either at a standstill, like between Raizo or Fukurokuju, or is finished. And the fight with Raizo and Fukurokuju seems like it's going to be resolved really quickly. It seems like, Raizo can just take the flames better than Fukurokuju can, and then he'll get lit on fire eventually, and he'll have to end his paralysis technique, and then Raizo can just like throw a shuriken at his giant forehead or something, and then that'll be it. So I think their fight is winding down as well. But anyway, we now have the final scene of the chapter where it was mentioned that one of the Cypher Pool members was like, well, Kaido and Big Mom are kind of like monsters, but regular humans only have a limit. They can only push themselves so far, so I guess we'll see. So they're still very confident, I think, that like Kaido and Big Mom will win the day. But as they say that, we cut to on top of the roof of Onigashima, where you see Luffy and Kaido continuing their brawl. And oh my god, it's so cool. So, Luffy takes out his like armament hockey fist and he's like, Gamu Gamu no, and he goes to punch Kaido. Kaido takes his kanabo like he's like batting. He's like, alright, here we come, grand slam. He takes his kanabo, punches Luffy's fist, knocks it away. Luffy jumps through the air, tries to kick Kaido. Kaido raises up his kanabo, boom, blocks that shot. And then he takes out his kanabo and slams it right down on Luffy, flattening him. Luffy bounces back up. He uses Gamu Gamu no rock fist. Wait, what was it called? Rock pistol. Rock gun. Alright, whatever. Some kind of artillery. Some kind of firearm. Rock gun! And then boom! Finally manages to land a hit right square on Kaido's cheek. Knocks him down. Luffy falls. Kaido falls. They're on the ground, on the roof of Onigashima. It's bombed into oblivion at this point. The whole place is up in flames. I'm pretty sure a demon is laughing in the distance like, Luffy gets back up and he's just like, man, this is starting to get fun. Kaido gets up and he's like, yeah, whoa. I was thinking the same thing, kid. Yeah. And then, boom, end of the chapter. Holy shit. Okay, so yeah, that's a pretty good way to end a year, or start a year, I guess, depending on when this is supposed to come out. But at any rate, great chapter, solid chapter. We had the conclusion of King and Zoro's fight. Good recap chapter to see what's all going on in Onigashima. Kiku and Kinemon are going to be, ferried away to safety. We had a great Usopp moment there. Great Izo moment there. I mean, that right there is Izo's moment in Wano. I mean, Izo had some other cool moments kind of on the side up until now, but that right there is Izo's moment. This is Izo's chapter, all right? And so that's that. Then we have the continuation of Kaido, and then we also see Big Mom, Kid, and Law. The conclusion with Drake's fight seems a little bit, upsetting because it's like it was off screen, so like Drake just gets off screen there. I mean, he might not be defeated. I mean, he might just get knocked down, he gets back up, and he just one more attack or something like that. We can always have that moment. Zanki was defeated. Fuga's gonna fight against Roki, the last of the numbers, and then Yamato's going to go and defuse the explosives. So it seems like everything is going to set up. Like, in a perfect world, I would say say Yamato reaches the armory, freezes all of the explosives. At the same time, Momo manages to pull the island far away, so it's not a big deal. At the same time, Kid and Law figure out some way to maybe not kill Big Mom, but somehow to like defeat her, or she runs out of gas and she just collapses or something. They manage to defeat her and like hold her at bay. At the same time, Luffy and Kaido's ultimate brawl ends. The flame clouds disappear. Onigashima falls somewhere out in the desert, somewhere out in the ruins of Udon or something where it can't really do any damage. It'll probably land like lopsided or something, but it's like whatever. As long as it's not on a flower capital or some town, we're good. And it seems like that's kind of setting it up for the final battle of this story. You know, I was honestly thinking Wano was going to conclude at some point like the middle of 2022, like in the summer of next year. But looking at this, I honestly think it might be earlier than that. Like, at least when it comes to the battles, they might be concluded by like February. Like, I'm not even like making an exaggeration there. February, March maybe? And then maybe we can have like a couple of chapters where we have like, you know, the wrap up and the banquet and everything like that, and what's really going to happen with the world government and everything there. That has to be addressed. But we might honestly be out of Wano by the start of summer. Like, that's totally reasonable now, looking at just how much progress we've made and how we're moving on to the final battles here. So that's just my opinion. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this chapter. I certainly did. Like I said, I'll be going back to the official releases when we get back on schedule next year. It's just that, like, you know, if I would have waited for the official, it would have been like 2 weeks, and I'm not even going to be here on the day it comes out. So I wanted to give you guys something before then to end out the year. So Happy New Year to everybody. This will be Tekking101, and where's Barry? Hold on, let's get Barry in here. All right, this has been a rough year. I mean, there's a lot of crap that happened this year, but, you know, me and Barry would just like to wish all of you a happy 2022. Hopefully it will be better. Signing out, everybody.